Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 10th annual results of the Press Democrat North Coast Wine Competition. I'm Steve Falk, publisher of the Press Democrat, and we are here this morning to announce the winning wines out of 1,100 entries in this year's competition.
Steve, thanks. Yeah, look, this is the best part of the competition, is announcing the results. And as Steve said, 1,100 wines were judged. We narrowed it down to 29 wines this morning that we tasted through for the sweepstakes, and eventually come up with the 5 top winners in each category of best sparkling wine, best white wine, best rosé, best red, and best dessert, and then announced a winning wine, the best of the best. Before we move into that, you know, this competition only has a success and credibility because of the winemakers that enter. The wines were just absolutely fantastic across the board. The judges showed that in 92% of the wines that were entered got a medal or above, and I think we beat a record this year of the most gold medals as a percentage, with close to 32% of the wines winning gold medals. So I just want to say thanks to all of the passionate winemakers out there and all the winemakers that enter the competition. The other most important part of the competition is the judges that we have. We want to make sure that we have the best judges that you can. We have 27 passionate judges, and many returnees that have judged the competition and known it year in, year out. But we also introduce some new judges every year because we want to keep it fresh with new palates coming in. One of the things that's important to us in the competition is that all the wines are looked at fairly from all different angles. So we make sure on every panel there's a winemaker, a som, a media person, or a buyer, a retail buyer, so the wines get to be looked at all different angles and they have the best chance of success. So before we go on to the winning wines, I'd just like to introduce a couple of our key judges this year, and I'm going to call on Jesse Katz. Do you want to do a break, or sorry, I wasn't sure whether we were breaking and
let's just bring them on and see what happens. All right, we're great. Thank you, Daryl.
So I'm going to call in one of our judges, winemaker Jesse Katz. Jesse,
what a couple days.
Yeah, he's already got a glass of wine. Jesse needs probably no introduction to anybody in the wine industry. Jesse's the winemaker for Aperture Cellars, probably the most written about, talked about winemaker at the moment in you know, that we have in California, and makes phenomenal wines. One of the other reasons that Jesse here, he's got huge experience with winemaking in other countries and winemaking across the board with a whole lot of different varieties. So Jesse, you've judged other years here.
Absolutely.
What were your thoughts this year compared to other years that we did?
Just overall super impressed with the array of wines, and I think that speaks to the regions that we're working within here. One of the great regions that we're all able to taste from in the world, in my opinion. Some of the great soils, great climates, and also I think the key thing too was most of the reds were 18 and 19 vintage. So 2 of the great vintages we've seen in California history over the last few decades, I would say. So great vintage, great region, and the level of detail in these wines was super impressive, I have to say.
Right. Yeah. And how did the dynamics of your panel go? I mean, you got a winemaker, you got a. I mean, this time I think you had a som and a buyer. That worked well.
Well, I love how you kind of intermix all of us, because everyone has a different perspective of what they're looking for in their wines. But I think overall the consensus was impressed by the level of quality that we were working with. And so I think this is my 6th or 7th year judging this, so I've gotten to judge with a couple of the folks on my panel in the past, and it was just really fun to get back to judging and doing this kind of stuff, because we've certainly missed it over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, you guys all awarded a lot of gold medals because of the quality of the wines. What do you think that means for winemakers and wineries?
Well, there was a bunch of new brands and new winemakers that I had not yet been introduced to. So I think a key thing is it's a great platform for new winemakers, and young brands to get introduced in a whole new platform. And you guys create such a unique dynamic of getting these wines out, getting it in the Press Democrat, creating an event around it. So it's a really amazing opportunity for folks. So I commend you and the Press Democrat for what you all are doing.
Yep. And remember, June 18th is the time that you can taste these at the North Coast Food and Wine.
And what an array of wines you get to taste. You guys are in for a treat.
Jesse, thank you very much. Thanks for
so
spending your time with us.
See you all June 19th.
We appreciate it. And the other judge I want to bring in is a new time judge for the very first time. And it's Erin Miller. Erin, for those that don't know her, she's one of the most important buyers I think in Sonoma County. She's the wine buyer, som for Charlie Palmer's Dry Creek Kitchen, where everybody wants to have their wines, I know.
Especially Sonoma County.
Yeah. Erin also brings a unique perspective as a judge, which I really like, is that, as we talked about the diversity of judges that we have, which is really important, but Erin has the diversity of being a som, but her history is being a winemaker, so she's got this really unique thing. Erin, I had a couple of questions for you, so tell us about this first judging experience. I looked at you smiling all day yesterday.
It's a lot of wines. I mean, it's not an unfamiliar process, but I've done it more in an academic setting, or even in the winery, judging through wines, and this is much more analytical, and as you said, you can't have a whole panel of all winemakers or all soms because you'll never move anywhere.
Yeah, or you'll all be one way.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of discussion about what each judge brings to the table, their perspective and their outlet, right? So
Yep.
we had a wine writer at our table, we had a winemaker, grape grower at our table, and then we had the associate judge. And so it's such an important program to bring these different facets together of the wine industry, because all of them are so important.
That's right, and everybody does look at wines differently, so that's great. So the other question I had for you, I mean, you're one of the most important wine buyers in this county. Everybody, you know, it's one of the best restaurants you could ever go to in the area. So everyone wants their wine there. So how do you look at awards when a winemaker comes in and wants to get a wine on your wine list? Tell me about how important awards are, and do you look at that?
I think awards are very important in communicating to the public about the merit of the wine and how it's been evaluated on an analytical, clinical level. I don't post awards like maybe a grocery store or bottle shop would, but I am really, particularly for our region, it's so important to be able to feature wines that have been highlighted or acknowledged in competitions, in the newspaper, talk about wine makers. I mean, you were just speaking with Jesse Katz, as you said, he's one of the most well-respected winemakers, and obviously one of the it people. So we get to read in the Press Democrat about winemakers and wineries and up-and-coming labels and varietals, and I think we had a really interesting Italian varietal.
We did. We had some really sort of fun stuff and some new stuff, which was really good.
So it's a learning process.
Yeah. So I think also, you know, if you've won a medal in this competition, which we said 92% of the wines have, your wine's really good because you've got some of the top, most respected people in the wine industry from all different facets, from all over, buyers, media, icons that are judging your wine. So congratulations to those that are our award-winning wineries.
And
so thanks, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
What are you drinking?
Oh,
white wine.
Chard.
All right, Steve, are you coming over to review the wines? Because I think everybody will be waiting for wondering what the winners are. We have some of the sweepstakes wines in front of us, but they aren't the ultimate winners, correct?
Well, I think everyone is ready to hear about the winners, so we will not hold you in suspense any longer. But I will say first, this is the commercial break. All of the winning wines will be published next Wednesday, April 13th in the Press Democrat and online at pressdemocrat.com. So we encourage you to look at all of the winners, but today we will talk about the top 5 categories.
Yep. So the first one we had, which was always great to walk in the morning, is the sparkling wine. It puts a smile on every judge's face. And this year we had about 50 sparkling wines, of which was narrowed down to 2 that went into the sweepstakes for a judge-off. And really interesting that those 2 sparkling wines out of 50 sparkling wines both came from the same winemaker, but it wasn't a surprise who that winemaker was. And the winning wine, Steve, is from Gloria Ferrar. It's a 2012 Caneros Cuvée. So that won the best sparkling wine. Went up against its other wine, the Gloria Ferrar Blanc de Noir, and just picked it. So,
and I can tell you firsthand.
Yeah, that's what I'm drinking too.
It is delicious.
All right,
so
and
now let's talk about, where should we go? Let's go to the best white wine of the competition. An interesting winner, I think.
It's the first time we've ever had this variety win the best white wine. So the winning wine, it just picked out the Sauvignon Blanc and is a Vermentino from Portapalupi. And this wine comes from Caneros in Sonoma County, and it's a 2021 vintage. The judges described this wine, I love this, as a carousel ride in your mouth, sassy and fun. I want to drink that wine, Steve.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
By the way, the winning sparkling wine was described as a pretty, classic and balanced, delicious, delicate notes of brioche and very complex. So now we do the best.
Okay, Daryl, let's move on to the best rosé.
Yeah, so we had, I think it was about 80 rosé wines, and we narrowed down to 2 that went into the sweepstakes. We had a rosé of Sangiovese and a rosé of Pinot Noir that had the judge off, and the rosé of Pinot Noir was the winner. And it's not a surprise who makes this rosé. So it is Navarro Vineyards 2021 from Anderson Valley. And the judges' comments on this were just absolutely a beautiful colour and just beautiful balance.
These folks have been making wine for how long? Decades.
A long, long time. Great value wine.
One of the first in Anderson Valley.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
Some of my favourites were their Riesling and Gewürztraminer, and again,
outstanding
it wasn't a surprise. The best dessert wine, or we'll do the best red wine. Let's do the best dessert.
Let's do the best dessert
wine. This was no stranger to winning the best dessert wine. It's the Sonoma Cutrer Late Harvest Chardonnay. I think it wins every 2 out of every 3 years. That's a 2018 vintage. And let me see, what did the judges say about this particular wine? Roasted nuts, lemon peel, and orange. Fantastic. So
that's a great wine. It's going to go great with lunch.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the best
red wine.
Red wine.
So we had in the sweepstakes round, we had 17 different red wines. Red wines make up 70% of the competition. So we had 17 red wines, all different varieties or blends. There was a fierce judge-off in the end between 3 red wines, and that was a Pinot Noir, a Bordeaux blend, and a Cabernet, and the Bordeaux blend eventually won through. And what are you reading there, Steve, as the best red wine?
Here it is, the Roth Sonoma County red wine. I can't read the vintage.
The vintage is 2019. I can do that only because I'm standing a distance out. So this wine This is what the judges said about it. So it's a Bordeaux blend. I love this. It's a brilliant blend. Rugged yet handsome. Deep, dense, pleasurable. Male movie star with a chiseled chin. And that's a classic description for a Bordeaux blend, which we then judged off these 5 wines to come up with the best of the best.
Best of the best.
And Steve, what won?
The best out of 1,100 wines, Daryl, this year was the Roth.
The Roth. So this is, here we are in our 10th year, the very first year of the competition. A Bordeaux blend won. Bordeaux blend has not won after that, and this is we're a decade down the track, and now we have our second Bordeaux blend winning the competition. So congratulations, Roth Winery, and again congratulations to all the winning wines.
And Roth, as you know, is owned by a great local family, you know, Foley family.
Yep.
Bill Foley and his team are just hitting it out of the park. And we are glad to share this now with the world after you and I drink the rest of this bottle.
And you'll have to read it in the paper, but these are some of the other wines. If you're sitting there looking, these are some of the other wines that went so close to winning. So anyway, we had a fantastic fun time.
We did. So again, all of the results next Wednesday, April 13th, the public tasting event at Luther Burbank Center on June 18th. Get your tickets early. This one is going to sell out, and that can be found at the Press Democrats website. So Daryl, it's been 10 years. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for putting the finishing touches on this competition. And now that we're on the record, what do you think? Should we do this for another 10?
You have me for about 30 more years.
Okay. Cheers, my friend.
I'm not going anywhere. I love it.
Okay. Again, enjoy all of these great wines, and thank you for joining us.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep.